Hey, welcome back everyone. We are getting closer to the middle of July at this point, and that only moves us closer to the release of Star Wars Andor, which by the way comes out on August 31st by Disney and Lucasfilm. This is Mike Zero. Make sure to subscribe if you are new to the channel for future Star Wars updates. Also, by the way guys, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you also very much for the kind support. It is greatly appreciated. Now, one thing about the Disney Star Wars universe is that there are a lot of things happening at the same exact time now between George, Jon, and Dave, and how they're really trying to introduce a lot of other Star Wars TV shows that are going to branch off of the Mandalorian TV series. Jon Favreau has been a lot more vocal recently about the overall Mandoverse, as a lot of fans like to call it, and exactly what he's up to when it comes to exactly how it's going to roll into the sequel trilogy in many different ways, and how it's going to change the lore of the sequel trilogy movies by retconning many elements of those films that were produced by Kathleen Kennedy and of course created by J.J. Abrams and Rian Johnson. Now, on top of all of this, what's really exciting about Jon Favreau is that you guys may or may not know, but a couple of years ago, the main reason as to why Favreau stepped into Star Wars is that he himself had an issue with The Last Jedi and how Luke was treated. And basically his overall endgame was to create a new live-action Star Wars series that would be very original, that would eventually step up to introducing the perfect version of Luke Skywalker from Legends that a lot of fans really enjoyed, and he delivered back in the fall of 2020. Now, with that being said, however, what's really exciting about all of this is exactly what Favreau recently had to say about Mando 3 and 4 and retconning the sequel trilogy movies, and exactly what that means to him as a creator and working alongside Dave Filoni as well. So, with Disney and Lucasfilm currently developing their new Star Wars projects that will be announced, by the way, at Disney Plus Day and D23, both creators Favreau and Filoni have been active developing Mando 3 and 4. In a recent interview with Jon Favreau about the future of Star Wars involving The Mandalorian, he was eventually questioned about changes toward the sequel trilogy and what that's looking like. Favreau went on to state the following to the fans: "Well, hey, I mean, we are all throwing things around, so many different ideas and concepts, and a lot of those really stuck for us in the scripts of Season 3 and 4 that are going to really change some of the lore that you see and have learned about in the sequels. It's never our intention to change things drastically or to change the meaning of some powerful scenes in movies, but sometimes retcons are necessary to bring our characters on certain paths. It's a very difficult process, but yes, we will be making the changes and retcons that we need toward the sequels in order to meet the goals of the stories of our characters, like Luke as an example. We are looking over all of the lore from episodes 8 and 9, and the story of Palpatine and what we can change in our story, and how that will create a different avenue for the sequels. Our goal is to create new meaning with the new saga films, and to create new lore as well, rewriting some of the lore to better fit our story. Myself and Dave have been discussing this for the past year, and it's truly exciting what we are putting together for the fans. I can't really get into what these changes are going to be for those films to you all right now, but I will promise you one thing, that it is going to be truly amazing for all types of hardcore fans and casual fans as well, to a degree. Now, the thing about Favreau here, and what he's trying to make clear, is that he is kind of staying in the middle. You can see how he's not trying to be too harsh on either side, but he is saying that retcons sometimes are necessary, while also stating that retcons aren't always, the thing that you want to chase for. So he is making it clear that retcons are not always the answer to everything, but in this scenario, retcons are necessary for Mando 3 and 4, and how it really is going to impact the sequel trilogy big time. Now, I don't know about you guys, but the fact that it's going to have everything to do with characters like Luke and Palpatine, it really does scream the Dark Empire storyline that they are slowly building to. And we talked about this, of how Dark Empire, yes, is going to be one of the main focuses for, of course, Jon and Dave and the Mandalorian series. And that is, of course, what they are doing. They're looking at the highlights, and Favreau, touched on this a couple weeks ago, that they're looking at highlights of Legends. You know, they're looking at the top books like the Throne Trilogy, the comics out there like Dark Empire, or Shadows of the Empire, the New Jedi Order. So many different stories that are going to be pretty much worked into shows like Ahsoka, Mandalorian, and a lot of other spin-offs that are about to come out for, of course, the overall, what I like to call, and others like to call, the Mandoverse. So, forward from all of this, Favreau also makes it clear that the story of the Skywalkers, of course, is going to be a big focus for us, and how we can continue the bloodline authentically, you know? We really need to obtain our goal to introduce this to the fans, and we think it's going to be groundbreaking for the brand. When I looked at the sequel films, there were some pieces here and there, lore-wise, that never really made much sense to me as a fan, and we plan to really set our eyes on those things and change those things for the better, though, of course, we really need to make those films and have a whole better understanding, and to also make it beneficial to use that lore properly in the Mandalorian series and its surrounding projects that we are creating. Now, apart from what Favreau stated here, this all alludes to the fact that both Mando 3 and 4 will be creating big retcons surrounding Luke and Palpatine specifically, as well as Rey, and how it changes the story of the sequel trilogy movies. This is a plan that has been in the works for the past 2 years now, and is already moving along with Mando 3 and 4 by Jon and Dave. However, Kathleen Kennedy, at no surprise, is not excited about all of this and is very frustrated over Jon Favreau's decision. Kathleen Kennedy has been trying to reach the Disney executives to change this big path by Jon and Dave with no success. Obviously, nobody wants to listen to Kathleen Kennedy right now, and I'm sorry that I'm dragging Kathleen Kennedy into this again, but she doesn't really want to make any of this happen, and it's obvious why. Because it creates a contrast between why fans like characters like Luke and Palpatine, and we really don't care about some of the other new, flat characters in the Kenobi series, in the planned Acolyte TV show, as well as Skeleton Crew that's currently being planned. You know, I think that when you look at it like this, yes, I know the answer is not always to just focus on the legacy characters and just focus on them directly. It's always nice to make new characters, but you gotta make those new characters meaningful. They have to hold the true vision of George Lucas. To me, Din Djarin is a great character. I think that, honestly, in very odd ways, a little bit better than Boba Fett because of how much character development he has. Now, Boba Fett, you know, when you look at the series, it just did not feel like Boba Fett to me. The real Boba Fett, the one that you saw in the original trilogy, and the one that you actually saw in the books and the comics, I mean, that's the Boba Fett that people wanted. But I digress. You know, when you look at Jon Favreau's goal here to retconning elements of the sequels, it really makes you wonder, guys. What do you think he's doing with Luke and Palpatine? Well, we talked about this before in the past of how there are a lot of big plans for Mando 4 and how it's going to have a lot of Dark Empire themes thrown into there, so you can really get the idea if you look up Dark Empire's comics. But overall, you know, guys, let me know what you guys have to say about all of this below in the comments. And if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.
From night to moon.